Welcome to the Italian Wine Podcast. This episode is brought to you by Vinitaly International Wine and Spirits Exhibition. The 54th edition of Vinitaly was held from 10 to the 13th of April. If you missed it, don't worry. Go to vinitalyplus.com for on-demand recordings of all the sessions from the exhibition. And remember to save the date. The next edition of Vinitaly will be held from the 2nd to the 5th of April 2023.
Welcome to this special Italian Wine Podcast broadcast. This episode is a recording off Clubhouse, the popular drop-in audio chat. This Clubhouse session was taken from the Wine Business Club and Italian Wine Club. Listen in as wine lovers and experts alike engage in some great conversation on a range of topics in wine. If you enjoy listening, please consider donating through ItalianWinePodcast.com. Any amount helps cover equipment, production, and publication costs. And remember to subscribe and rate our show wherever you tune in.
My name is Stevie Kim. This is the Italian Wine Club on Clubhouse. And I'm going to kill you because I thought we were supposed to have a break for Vinitaly, but in fact, we only had 1 week break because you put this on Friday. So
sorry about that.
We usually do it on Thursday, so we said let's take a break for Vinitaly because everyone's been working really, really hard. And then I just saw that, we had to do the Clubhouse today. But I'm glad that you were able to organize this. So let me just welcome everybody. I don't even know. This is a little bit earlier than we usually do. So let's do this. What number episode is this? Is this...
Actually, this is the 37th episode of the Ambassadors Corner.
Wow. So that means for 37 weeks consecutively, we have been hosting the Ambassadors Corner, which is basically we ask one of our ambassadors to invite their favorite wine producer, and they do this kind of like a fireside chat, deep dive into this winery with the winemaker or producer or wine personality of that company. So today we have Justin with us from Hong Kong. Justin
Hi.
Chen.
Yes.
He's of course our Italian wine ambassador from Hong Kong. When did you do the course? I can't remember.
You mean the
VIA
it's
course,
it's the VIA. It's in the Hong Kong version. I think it's in the November of 2019.
Right, you did the 2019. So actually that was the last year, the very last year before the pandemic.
Yes. I'm quite lucky,
God.
actually.
And I haven't seen you since, actually.
Yeah, because we travel stopped. We don't have the chance to actually see each other since then.
So Justin, what is going on now in Hong Kong? What is the? You guys are not locked down, right? Or
we are not locked down, but we have social distance rules. Mm-hmm. So all of our course so far has been online. So I still hosted a class and also various different tasting workshops. So we managed to send the samples to the participants. But
so you're back to virtual tasting again.
Yeah, we because of the fifth wave, it's quite.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, but we are improving now. So actually, starting from the 21st of April, the social distance rule will be relaxed. So we will actually, hopefully, we will resume the face-to-face class in May, I think.
Oh, it's so crazy. I see, of course, Kevin, Cheetah, Slavic. We've seen in the audience, and we just saw them because they were here for 5-star wines and Vinitaly. We've just concluded Vinitaly the day before yesterday. It seems like ages ago. So we ran, of course, 5-star wines, and then we did Vinitaly International Academy, and then we did opera wine, and 4 days of Vinitaly. So it's literally been a Vinitaly marathon, and we have just concluded, and I was crossing my fingers every day just so that, the COVID was under control. So, but yeah, it's so difficult. It's so crazy, the fifth wave. And definitely the COVID pandemic is not over yet. Anyways, let's go back to the show. Justin is, of course, a wine educator, and he works with, I believe, Deborah Myberg, MWM Wine School. Is that Deborah's school?
Yes.
Okay. So you work with Deborah in Hong Kong. And of course, you are also our educator. You're running our Italian Wine Maestro program there. You are diploma, WSET, and also certified educator for them. And you are the wine scholar, Guild Italian Wine Scholar, and you're just one smart fellow. I think you were the best in our class from our graduating class, if I don't recall. So, and you are very keen about Italian wine as well. So, Justin, you have today with us Francesco from Poliziano.
Yes.
Why did you choose Francesco Carletti as your favorite producer to be interviewed today?
So actually, first of all, is that I've been a long wine lover of their wine, particularly their flagship wine, the Arsenone. Actually, is one of my favorite Vino Nobile di Montepulciano, and so I have been drinking their wine for quite a long time. But actually, I think the chance is that later on I got to know their importer in Hong Kong, which was Cheta, and run by Katie Massey. So I think Katie introduced me to Francesco, and I hosted several masterclass and tasting workshops with Poliziano. So I think I get more and more get to know this winery and appreciate their efforts to actually in the reviving of the fame of Vino Nobile. And I even wrote an article in the local wine magazine about their winery. So that's the reason why I choose their winery for today's interview.
Excellent. Is Katie still in Hong Kong?
Yes.
Oh, so she's still living in Hong Kong?
Yeah, because I think that she said to me that probably she will join today's interview as well, but so far I haven't seen her.
Yeah. I mean, I almost feel like everyone is fleeing Hong Kong. Of course, JC has moved to Verona.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah, who taught the course here last week, she has moved to Seattle in America.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Francesco, of course, Italian wine expert. He did the course with you, right? No.
Yeah.
He did, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And he was living in Italy for just a brief period. In fact, he also translated Professor Attilio Scienza last June for the VIA flagship edition. And then he's now living in Argentina.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. So he couldn't come and join us this year. But I feel like everyone is just, fleeing Hong Kong at the moment. Let's hope that, we are very, very, we have a very close relationship with Hong Kong because we've been going to Hong Kong and have invested so much of our resources and energy and created a community of VIA in Hong Kong. So we hope we can go back very soon and to see you and our VIA community members. So Justin, as you know, we look for some learning objectives that we would like to anticipate to our audience. By the way, as everybody knows, this recording will be replayed on Italian Wine Podcast, and I have to tell you that it is one of our most popular series. In the beginning, I was a little bit hesitant because we used to record for about 15 minutes for our podcast. And then I said, who the hell's going to listen to an hour chatting about, wine? But it turns out that everyone is very much interested in the deep dive version. So very, very popular indeed. So tell us about the learning objectives.
Yeah. Actually, I think basically would like to introduce you guys to this great winery to understand their history and the latest development. And also, I would like to talk a little bit in depth about their two top wine, single vineyard wine with completely different terroir which actually give it a chance to understand the diversity of the terroir in Vino Nobile, so that they can make into a two-single vineyard wine with Sangiovese, but completely different characteristics. And finally, I would like to actually talk also a little bit about this project, the Alliance Vinum, which is actually the project. Poliziano is one of the members, and to actually try their efforts to actually really to achieve the renaissance of Vino Nobile. So I think these are the basic, learning points that I would like to achieve for today.
Okay, great. So over to you, Justin. I'll come back towards the end and close up the room. And if there are any questions, we'll take a few questions, etc. Okay? So on those rare occasions, I will shut up now, believe it or not, and let you take over.
Okay,
Ciao.
Thank you, Stevie. And then let's welcome Francesco Carletti. And ciao, Francesco.
Buongiorno, Justin. Ciao to everybody.
Yeah, ciao, Francesco. Buonasera. And so I think probably my first question is about your background. And actually, I understand that you studied engineering in the university. So actually, I think the audience and also myself will be a little bit curious about why you choose to actually still work with your dad for the wineries matter. So what's your original plan, and since when you started to really seriously involved in your winery matter?
So when I was around 15 years old, actually even earlier, 13, 14, winery wise, my father and all the people who work in the winery have always told me that what is truly essential for our business is to speak English. So I've always been forced, let's say, to learn it through private lessons, summer camps, and things like this. And ever since I was around 10, 11. But I do remember that one summer, I was in a room with five guys of around the same age as me, who were all from London. And throughout those 3 weeks, I literally did not understand much about what they were talking about. So I said to myself, I really need to learn it. And in order to do that, I'm willing to leave my hometown, Montepulciano, and move abroad. And for various reasons, I decided to choose and move to Scotland.
Great.
Where I lived for around 6 years. I'm not going to go in too much details. There's nothing wine related over there, and my plans, due to the fact that I had several friends from there, I sort of found my position in there. I decided to remain in Scotland, and since I was very good at physics and mathematics, I decided to do engineering. But as soon as I finished, I wasn't really. I did enjoy the course, but not as much as I expected. So when I returned home in 2019, my plan was just to spend the summer over there and start planning my future. And my father sort of said, why don't you follow me, come to the vineyards, follow the harvest, and day after day, week after week, month after month, I just convinced myself that my place was to be in the winery. So let's say I've officially joined the winery somewhere around the end of 2019, early 2020.
Okay.
Yeah. And I became actually that's sort of funny. I became the expert manager for the winery 1st February 2020. So right before COVID started.
Okay. So how about your expo business? Is the business actually affected by the COVID? Of course, it should be, but I think the things are getting better right now. So probably you will become more and more busy.
Yeah, actually, the very challenging year was 2020, especially for not really the for specifically for the Italian market. That was we had a lot of challenge in that market specifically. But 2021 has been a really successful year. We sort of returned back to our usual sales standards. So no, we everything is doing better now. Obviously, as probably everybody knows, we have all various new challenges to face, and we started thinking about transitioning a little bit more towards digital forms of communications, of sales, and other things. But so far, the everything is doing well. I'm only missing and really looking forward to start traveling again, which is that's what I was signing for right at the beginning, and I haven't had the chance to do such, especially because I'm majorly focusing myself on markets which are outside of Europe. So pretty challenging to reach there in the last 2 years.
Okay, fantastic. We are also really look forward to seeing you in Hong Kong once you got a chance to travel to here. So my second question is a little bit about your history and the latest development, because we all know that Poliziano is one of the leading wineries in Montepulciano. And actually, this is the winery that really is one of the pioneer to start the modernization of the viticulture and the winemaking for Vino Nobile. So could you give us a little bit about the backgrounds and also your latest development?
So the winery was founded in 1961 by my grandfather. My grandfather specifically wasn't a really it wasn't a person who was involved in agriculture in general, because at the time when he relevated the estate wasn't majorly focusing on grape production and therefore wine. So my grandfather started to reorient the winery, or rather the estate, towards vines, cultivations, and producing wine. But as you said, everything started off sort of later on when my father really started. My father graduated in agriculture engineering, so he was really he knew a lot more things than my grandfather on cultivating in general, and everything from 1980 practically, because my father graduated in 1978. He did some working experience around Italy, in Verona specifically, and also in Montalcino. And in 1980 he decided to fully took over the business, for which my grandfather was sort of quite happy about it, and ever since he started, he made the first bottles. Actually, not the first bottles of Vino Nobile. Those ones were made by my grandfather, but he changed the labels, and he was the one who started the Asinone, which, by the way, is one of the first single vineyards, not only in Montepulciano but also in Tuscany. Ever since then, he obviously, as you were saying, we started with modernizing the approach of cultivation. So sort of changing what it was the tradition of the time. He was greatly influenced by international approaches, especially in terms of aging, and we kept on building the company. Initially, we had only around 22 hectares, whereas now we have about 130, 140 hectares in the Montepulciano area. We also have two and a half other estates. One of them, which is the last in terms of time, which was acquired in 2017, is sort of in the middle between the territory of Montepulciano and the close Torrita area, or Montefollonico, with more details. And then we also have around 25 hectares in the Maremma, and another 7 hectares in Cortona, which is just up north, Montepulciano.
Yeah, fantastic. So basically, let the audience to get familiar with your different generations. So I think your grandfather is Dino, right? And your father is Federico, right? So
exactly.
Yeah, I think probably Federico is the figure that has been widely reported about for your winery. I think Poliziano. I think because he is really the pioneer in terms of modernization. So he is the guy that trying to produce the wine at a low yield and also involve a modern equipment and also the French barrique agent for the wines. So really actually modernize the style of the Vino Nobile that you were producing. But actually nowadays I have learned from you previously. Actually, there's a gradually as a kind of like a style switching back to a little bit more like traditional style. Could you elaborate a little bit on this process?
Yes, what you said is absolutely right. But I would like also to make a point. Although my grandfather was not a winemaker, and he, nonetheless, he was the one who started everything. So as an example, other than relevating the initial 22 hectares and building the really first aging cellar, he was also the one who relevated the Asinone vineyard. And he did it in not a he didn't have any economical idea. It was truly just for passion. Very romantic idea, because my grandfather was working in the construction business in Italy, and he was forced, since he was working in a very big company, which wasn't set locally. He was forced to move around Italy. As an example, my father lived for 7 years in Sardinia, and the decision to relevate the estate was also to sort of sentimentally move back to his hometown, and I think this is it is very important in light of what my father eventually did. Coming to my father, yes, he was very in the 80s. I think wine producers were not as many as there are today, especially in Tuscany. So in a very short period of time, he managed to get to know many of them, and started sharing thoughts, and that was the decade when, or even the decade before, the 70s, when all new approaches, new modern approaches were starting to be developed. And my father has his primarily goal was to stop making carboy wine and start making wine which was growing in the quality rather than the quantity. So so he basically started experimenting. He sooner or later realized that he required a certain level of technical, more modern equipment, and so he built a winery. He built a cellar. He renovated the aging cellar. So he has experimented a lot. Around the end of the 90s, early 2000s, year after year, he started realizing that, and nowadays it's very clear to everybody, but the weather, the temperature started rising, and with the type of density, the type of vineyard treatments that he has been carrying from the 80s until the early 2000s, he realized that the vineyards were suffering. Climate change was playing a huge role, and that's why ever since the early 2000s he changed the focus. So he started focusing more, first of all, in a little bit higher elevated places. So we stopped acquiring or planting in very low altitude the places of the Montepulciano territory, and he started going a little bit higher up. And as well, he started, adjusting the density. He moved from 5,800, 6,000 plants per hectare more back to the 5,000, 5,200. Then he raised the height of the plants, and then obviously a huge internal study of the best clones of Sangiovese, the best rootstocks, which we're adapting in the various territories, the various terroirs that we have, because our estate is not placed in only one specific position of Montepulciano, but it's displaced all across the town, the territory.
Great. So I think, I think we will also talk a little bit about the style switching when we discuss your two single vineyard wines. I think talking about your wine, I would like to first discuss about your basic Vino Nobile di Montepulciano. I think this one is, for me, is a really, really a lovely wine and very consistent wine, and also with excellent value. So this is a wine actually produced in a fairly large quantity, but year in, year out, you can still maintain a very good quality and consistency. Could you share us a little bit about the basic style of your Vino Nobile di Montepulciano that you, as a producer, that you want to achieve, and also the efforts that have been done in the vineyard and also in the cellar, that you guys are trying to keep the consistency and the quality of this basic Vino Nobile?
Well, first of all, you did mention something relatively important about the numbers of bottles that we make of this wine. On average, we make about 150, 180,000 bottles of our regular Vino Nobile. Well, I would say its style, Sangiovese is greatly influenced, and maybe we will talk about it with greater details when we touch the cruise. But Sangiovese as a variety, we call it, is a phenotypic variety. So it's greatly and hugely impacted by the terroir, the microclimate, the soils where it is grown. And so this brings me to the type of terroir that we have in Montepulciano. Montepulciano is situated a little bit up north than Montalcino, and relatively souther than the Chianti Classico area. So we're sort of right in the middle. The type of weather that we have is quite continental, and the characteristics of our soils is, although we have in some cases we have some more sandy soils, the tendency is to always find clay soils, and clay soils usually produce usually sort of highlights the tannic side of Sangiovese. So style-wise, I would say that our Vino Nobile, which is at the end of the day a blend of the various parcels that we have all across the Montepulciano territory, is quite of a powerful, medium to full structured type of wine, and it's sort of has always been like this ever since my father started producing it. Over the years, as I was mentioning earlier, we have started to go a little bit higher in elevation, and we have also acquired, especially towards the Vagliano area, which is like a fraction of Montepulciano territory. A a lot of vineyards, a lot of soils which have a strong base of sand, which inevitably has allowed us to make some more lightweight, more acidity-based type of Sangiovese, which are pretty much every year in the last say 5 to 6 years been blended in the Vino Nobile, in the regular Vino Nobile. So I would say that although the primarily structure, so this medium to almost full-bodied, depending on the vintage, Vino Nobile is slowly in the last 10, 15 years starting to be to grow in acidity, grow in freshness, and we're starting to contain it a little bit more in powerfulness. In terms of in terms of taste, the wine is there's no doubt about it. It's becoming more typical every day, every year more. As you know, in Montepulciano we're a little bit different than Montalcino. We have a 70% minimum of Sangiovese. My father has always worked within the 70 to 85% of Sangiovese, whereas the remaining was always Canaiolo and Colorino, which are local varieties of our territory. But we can also say Tuscany in general, and a little bit of Merlot as well. In the last I would say 2, 3, 4 years, we have started to consistently grow the percentage of Sangiovese, and now we are almost reaching 95% of Sangiovese. So it's around 92%. The Nobile 2018, which is the one that we are currently have in the market, it's around 92, and I think 2019 is even a little bit more, so nearly 95. So the wine is very typical. Our approach is to make it more balanced and more a wine which expresses itself in an equilibrium between the tannic and the structure and the freshness and the fruitiness.
Okay, so this wine, the traditionally speaking, that the wine always involve a little bit of Merlot. So I would ask you that you still believe that recipe will actually you would still keep that recipe to involve a little bit of Merlot in the future vintage for this regular Vino Nobile, or you will consider maybe eventually you will actually use only the local grape varieties?
I think that this is more of a question to me, I would say. I think our approach is to probably reach the 100% Sangiovese in the close future. Obviously, this also has a huge. I mean, as I was saying earlier, Sangiovese is phenotypic, and when you have a very favorable vintage, as 2018 or 2019, we managed to make a lot of really, really, really good Sangiovese. So I believe that when these vintages occur, we will always try to push for the 100%, the purity of Sangiovese.
Okay.
Probably in a little bit more difficult vintages, we might still be blending. And concerning the Merlot question, for sure, in the next years we're gonna erase that component as well.
Okay. Good. So I think because of the weather and global warming, I think also because of your I say choosing the right colognes of Sangiovese, I think your winery is now, I think it's I got a feeling that you are become more and more confident in using a higher percentage of Sangiovese, or even 100% Sangiovese for the regular Vino Nobile. So I think this is the probably I will look forward to taste more new vintages, and I think to get a more updated feeling about your regular Vino Nobile. And in terms of the two crus and the single vineyard wines, I think Arsenone is probably the most famous one, and this is the one that actually used to be one of my favorite, and because of this wine that I got to know Poliziano, but through our previous master class and also tasting workshops, I also got to know another actually very elegant vineyard, which is La Cagiole. So I think could you just introduce a little bit about these two vineyards and the terroir components and the different style of the resulting wines?
But both of them are, as you said, single vineyards. So they're both coming from one specific vineyard. And a funny aspect, I would say, or a curious aspect, more curious than funny, is that both of the two vineyards have been planted in the 60s. So they to some extent, fully represent the traditional approach on planting. Both of them are cultivated not in Kerdensburn, which was the, let's say, the typical approach that we would had in the 80s and the 90s, but it's Guyot. And the density is a little bit higher than the real tradition. We are in the 4,500 plants per hectare, but obviously it's nothing compared to what it was in the 80s. And actually another very particular aspect, specifically of the Asinone. The Asinone is not, so it is to some extent representing the tradition, but it is also not, because in Tuscany we would always plant our vineyards in we call it ritocchino. So all the vines, all the rows are going from the top to the bottom, straight. Whereas the Asinone, for its peculiar shape, its peculiar shape, is actually planted from left to right, as they would most likely, as they would do in the Barolo area, as an example.
Okay.
And specifically about the two wines, the two wines are approached and they are managed exactly in the same way in terms of treatment throughout the years, but also in terms of selection of the berries and the grapes. We initially make a first selection prior harvest. Then there is, and then once all the grapes are collected and brought down to the cellar, we undergo another additional secondary selection made by hand. So the really traditional and popular rolling table, where you have several people at each side of the table and hand picking specifically every single berry, taking out the leaves and other things. Concerning the soil, Asinone is a almost 40 to 45% of clay soil, whereas Le Cagiole is around 4 to 5, in some places even 7% of clay, but the vast majority is just sand. I think the richest point, it has around 72, 73% of sand. So two completely different soils. Another curious aspect is that these two vineyards are only around 800 meters apart. So that sort of shows you the differences that you can have in our territory, not specifically of Poliziano, but of Montepulciano in general. But what we have discovered, actually, in very recent period of time, is that both of these two soils are coming from one of the most ancient geological area of locally, which is the Pliocene. So we're talking about 5 to 6 million years ago. And these soils have been, they came out from the seaside, from the water, again, several millions of years ago. And this means that the soils are really poor. So they do not produce massive quantities of grapes, but they produce a lot less, and therefore the vines are capable to concentrate more in those grapes. So low yield, and due to this aspect and the aspects of their soil composition, you have two different types of grapes. The Asinone grape tend to be extremely small with very, very thick skin. And therefore, here you have a lot of tannins, a lot of structure, a lot of color. And my father has always worked in this idea. Therefore, whenever I go around in the market, I'm always being told that the Asinone is the perfect wine to have with a bistecca, as an example. So very, very fat, very powerful type of food. Whereas Liccagione is almost the opposite. You tend to have relatively bigger berries with a little bit thinner skin. So the major differences in the making of the two wines is during the fermentation and maturation. Since you have greater skin in the Asinone, you tend to maturate it a little bit longer. We're talking about 3, 4, maybe 5 days more. And in terms of aging, the two wines pretty much follow the same approach, with the only difference that the Asinone tends to go a little bit more in new oak rather than Liccagione, simply because Liccagione needs to be more typical. We have stopped ever since I would say 10, 15 years ago to use primarily barriques. We're now introducing more larger barrels. We have a preference for our Sangiovese with a tone nose. So those are the types of barrels that we use for this two crus. And whereas for the Vino Nobile, we actually mixed the tone nose with the big barrels and so on. What is the major difference between these two, Asinone and Liccagione, which are, by the way, I didn't mention 100% Sangiovese, both of them. If you taste them, you sooner or later realize that these are two completely different wines. And this is truly based on what I was just explaining earlier. It's the terroir, it's the soil, and it's alternatively what you get as a grape. Asinone is a full structured, very powerful, very large to some extent wine, whereas Liccagione is completely the opposite, right? The opposite. It's a very light. You have a very medium to lightweight type of structure, but you have this length, this great acidity, which makes this wine extremely pleasant, extremely fresh, and very, very long and vertical. And again, as I was saying, both of them are 100% Sangiovese. The approach is pretty much identical, but here the territory, the soil is really making a huge difference. And I always like to finish off by saying that the Liccagione is the feminine side of Montepulciano's Sangiovese, whereas Asinone is the masculine side of Montepulciano's Sangiovese.
Yeah, these two wines actually, I think, is a fantastic examples that if you want to do a comparative tasting and to show the diversity of the terroir in Vino Nobile, I think these two wines are the perfect choices. So I think we in our previous tasting workshops, we compare these two wines side by side. It's really actually show the difference, and I think that the participants are all were all actually amazed by the difference between the two wines. The Asinone is a little bit muscular and powerful, and the Liccagione is more feminine and elegant, and showing more like Asinone, showing more like a darker fruit, black fruits, and the Liccagione showing more red fruit characters. And I also actually know that probably you can also introduce a little bit about the the names of the two wines. Actually, there's a story behind the both names. Actually, it's quite interesting.
Well, the Asinone is Asinone in Italian. For those who don't speak Italian, means big donkey, and this is primarily due to the shape of the vineyard. If by any chances you might find yourself in front of a Asinone bottle, you just turn the bottle, look at the back label, and you have a rough figuration of the vineyard, and it looks like the back of a donkey. And that's why it is called the big donkey. Whereas Licagiole is the name is not specifically related to the vineyard, but it's related to the area in which the vineyard is grown, is situated. And if I do not go wrong, Licagiole used to be a type of flower which was incredibly present in that specific area.
Okay.
From my understanding, this type of flowers have, they're much more rare nowadays. Probably the climate has changed, and therefore they're not capable of appearing that often as they used to.
Okay, so I think just one point technically about probably I think the exposure of both vineyard also has something to do with the different styles. And the vineyard for Asinone is south and southwest, and the vineyard for Licagiole is east, facing the east. So I think probably the
it's actually
exposure,
it is actually facing Licagiole is facing north.
Oh no,
the hill.
Okay.
The hill is facing north. Yes, and actually another thing, on a regular basis, you would think that clay soil tends to be a little bit more arid, and that is actually the case. You don't have a lot of high vegetation around the Asinone, so that is actually a really really warm place. Whereas Licagiole, also because of sand, but also because it has this little Mediterranean forest at the back of the vineyard, tends to be a little bit fresher. And funny enough, this is something that my father and my sister have started realizing in the last few years, that area is also relatively warmer during the night. So when it should be colder, it's actually warmer, and during the day it's actually a little bit fresher than similar positions of the same type of altitude. Both of the two vineyards are in between the 400 to 500 meters level on the seaside level.
Okay, so I understand that Licagiole is the wine that you produced for this Alliance Vinum project. So so probably also take this opportunity that for you to introduce a little bit about this project and the concept of Renaissance of Vino Nobile.
So let me add this. Licagiole actually used to be produced around at the end of the 80s until the mid 90s. But then my father, if you ask him, he would almost scream at you, saying, ironically, he did the wrong choice to stop the production of Licagiole. And then we restarted again in 2015 in accordance with these other producers. The Alliance Vinum is composed of, at its foundation, of 6 wineries from Montepulciano, Avignonesi, Salceto, La Braccesca, Dei, Poliziano, and Boscarelli. So, 6 wineries, which, and I'm not saying those are the only wineries, but 6 wineries which have been recognized in the market in the last 10, 20 years, 30 years to produce high quality wines. And it's a long story, but let's say that, throughout the last 10, 15 years, our Montepulciano has been has had many problems in terms of communication. The first thing which I believe everybody have thought about at least once is the confusion between Montepulciano, the town placed in Tuscany, and Montepulciano d'Abruzzo, the grape.
Yeah.
Over the last 10, 15 years, our consortio and all the producers have started thinking about solving this communication problem. But we never really came with a solid conclusion. So the Alliance Vinum, so the 6 producers decided around 2017, if I do not go wrong, to gather themselves and start like a more inner conversation between the 6 of us. And we agreed that the best way to tackle this type of problem is to sort of rename our wines, not Vino Nobile di Montepulciano, but rather just Vino Nobile. That was the time when we wanted to shorter the name because at the end of the day, it's Barolo, it's Chianti, it's Brunello, it's Morellino. So one word, very easy to pronunciate. You cannot really imagine how difficult for some people, and I truly understand them when they try to pronounce the full word, the full sentence, Vino Nobile di Montepulciano, and that either in the States or in China or elsewhere. Obviously, it wasn't only just a matter of changing the word, but it was also a matter of, thinking about reconstructing the wine itself, because our the Vino Nobile was initially thought in the 60s, end of 60s, then rebranded in the 80s. So that type of approach in terms of blendings, in terms of aging, in terms of period that it has to be in the bottle, and so on, was relatively old for the time, 2017. So they also gathered in order to think about what type of new wine Montepulciano could have made after this almost 60 plus years of winemaking experience. And we came to conclude that the best approach is to have a 100% Sangiovese, a cru coming from old vines, which has a minimum aging of around 12, but in most of the cases of the winery is a little bit more in wood. Not the use of new oak in particular, and neither the barriques, but try to use a little bit larger barrels and give the wine some more time in the bottle. In fact, the Asinone tends to come out in the market a little bit earlier. The Le Cagiole tends to stay a little bit more time in the bottle before it goes in the market. What else is there to say? Nothing much.
So this is still an ongoing project. So you will continue that concept and it's trying to explore more on that.
Well, in 2017 we gathered and we started thinking and proposing. I actually did not mention one thing. My father was already at that time, since 2006 and 7, he replanted a lot of vineyards, which because we don't only have that one vineyard in Le Cagiole, but we have several more. So he started replanting them, and in the process of replanting, he paid much more attention to the wine, and the major characteristics of Le Cagiole. So it's this this freshness, this great acidity, this almost no existence of tannins. He sort of rediscovered it. So Polisano was already planning on coming back out with Le Cagiole. But around, again, 2017, all these other producers started talking, started thinking about, gathering and discussing. So eventually, later on in 2018, 19 slash, they all came out with their crew 2015 vintage. But we were already planning on coming out, whether the alliance was existing or not. Eventually, this discussion extended towards the entire denomination. I think there was also another similar association which was founded around the same period of time, and that allowed us. Actually, Stevie knows about it because she was one of the. She actually had let's say a masterclass where her and Attilio Scienza had some really nice thoughts about how a new wine should be communicated and made. So we had an internal discussing within the consortium, and we are nowadays planning. It is not yet sure from which vintage, but we're going to be coming out. All the entire denomination is going to be coming out with a new wine, which is going to be called Le Pieve. Le Pieve is going to be. It's basically we basically have overviewed the denomination and outlined 12 very high sort of terroir related micro areas within the denomination, and curious enough, one of these areas is going to be called Le Cagiole.
Okay, fantastic. So probably I really look forward to that. Maybe we can have a chance in the future to taste these 12 really represent different terroirs. So it's more like is a kind of a concept of like MGA or 12 area, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
It is.
Great, fantastic. Because the recent development in Chianti Classico is also that they have actually launched at least their consortium has already approved on the MGA.
It is literally the same thing. The only difference is that we group the micro areas based on also historical bounds, because Le Pieve are churches.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have a more like unique names. You have a more unique name. Belong to Montepulciano. I think that's a good idea because you have a slightly different name, more reflect the local culture to refer to your actually MGA concept. That's a fantastic, I think, idea. So I think we still have a couple of minutes. I think I would like to give back to Stevie and see, and also see whether there's any questions about our session.
So first of all, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. First of all, you guys have been so thorough. Let's give it up for Justin Chen and Francesco.
Thank you.
Francesco,
Thank you.
I am so impressed. First of all, you have clearly a great command of not only English, but also your wine stuff. And I think we were enthralled, all of us, just listening to you. I don't recall meeting you, Francesco, but I would love to have a chat with you next time I see you. And congratulations. Francesco, did you come up to Vinitaly?
I did. I actually did. You mean
how was it? How was Vinitaly for you?
Well, it's
you can tell me the truth. We're only going to, only 5,000 other people will be listening on the podcast.
I lived abroad, so I was never I never had the chance to go there as simply as the son of
right.
So that was actually my first.
That was your first? You were Vinitaly virgin?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
I loved it. I really enjoyed it. Although most of my colleagues were saying that, there were a lot less people
right.
than the usual. But but it was really good. You know, I managed to get to taste some really good wines and get to know some really nice people, and obviously, you know, after Vinitaly, that's where the social starts, and I really enjoyed
so
that
you
one.
partied in Bottega.
Not as much, but no, I was in the square.
Right.
Most of the times, yeah.
Okay, excellent. So listen, this episode will air soon. Joy.
May the 5th. That seems to be the date I have on my calendar for this episode.
Okay, so this recording will air on the 5th of May, but I want to I have a small ask for everybody, and please spread the word. We got delisted on Spotify, and we had some issues, so please go back and follow us and listen to us on Spotify so we can rebuild bigger and better. But we have been getting a lot of listens, so thank you all for following us. As you know, it's a labor of love, so please send in those comments and spread the good word and gospel about Italian wine. Thank you very much, Justin and Francesco. See
Thank
you
you,
very
Stevie.
soon, here or there. Ciao ragazzi.
Yeah, hope so. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Ciao tutti.
Ciao.
Have a good day.
Ciao.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Italian Wine Podcast, brought to you by Vinitaly International Wine and Spirits Exhibition, the biggest drinks trade fair in the world. Save the date. The next edition of Vinitaly will be held the 2nd through the 5th of April 2023. Remember to subscribe to Italian Wine Podcast and catch us on SoundCloud, Spotify, and wherever you get your pods. You can also find us at ItalianWinePodcast.com. Chin chin!
Hi guys, I'm Joy Livingston and I am the producer of the Italian Wine Podcast. Thank you for listening. We are the only wine podcast that has been doing a daily show since the pandemic began. This is a labor of love and we are committed to bringing you free content every day. Of course, this takes time and effort, not to mention the cost of equipment, production, and editing. We would be grateful for your donations, suggestions, requests, and ideas. For more information on how to get in touch, go to ItalianWinePodcast.com.